Joe. It's 53 minutes after the hour. Time for your topical update, and we have got a lot going on. Mother Nature is very, very busy in the tropics. Let's get right to it and take an overview here of the tropics that affect the U.S. There's actually more in the Western Pacific. First of all, of course, Hurricane Bertha off of Florida and the Bahamas offshore. We'll look at that in detail. Then we have this double threat here, very, very bizarre and unusual. Two significant storms heading in the direction of Hawaii, and then Tropical Depression Genevieve has moved on by Hawaii. It's not a threat to anybody. And then, as I said, there's a typhoon over on the other side of the Pacific we'll look at. All right, here's Bertha. Last estimate, 11 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. 80-mile-per-hour winds was the estimate at that time. Bertha kind of put on a burst of organization and strength this morning, and the winds went up to 80 miles an hour, and the pressure went down to 998 millibars. Since then, the satellite picture is not as impressive, and the hurricane hunters out there have measured a little higher pressure, so we'll see what the update is at 5 o'clock. But there's the track. The National Hurricane Center thinking it'll stay well off the North Carolina coast and to the west of Bermuda, kind of threading the needle between the two. Newfoundland in Canada has some threat there. The thinking is the storm will just slowly weaken as it moves on off to the north, again, well offshore, but watch yourself along the east coast beaches. Here's why it's expected to weaken. Here's our wind shear graphic, wind shear showing where the upper level winds are going to be unfavorable. And you see in the area where it is right now, it's just a little bit unfavorable. Blue is kind of favorable, pink is unfavorable, and then where you see these lines, it becomes very unfavorable. So slightly unfavorable where it is right now. That's why it's not strengthening in a big, big way. And remember, it's forecast to move up this way into these very strong high wind shear values, and therefore weakening is eventually expected. Okay, off to the Pacific we go, where we have this very strong Hurricane Iselle and a tropical storm Julio that's also expected to be a hurricane, both moving very strangely right behind each other in the direction of Hawaii. I'm not saying they're going to hit Hawaii. That's just the direction they're moving right now, and it is indeed a threat. Iselle, a Category 4 hurricane, and Julio, still a tropical storm. Now, the thing to notice here, these are the ocean temperatures, the water temperatures, and there you see where the 70s are, where the blues are, and down here is where the real warm water is. So it's right on the fringe of the warm and the cool. So exactly how much warm water it stays over, that remains to be seen. But right now, Iselle is just an incredibly strong storm. We'll look at more on that in a second. How unusual is this? Well, you see, a lot of storms have moved. This goes back to 1950. A lot of storms have moved in the direction of Hawaii from that direction, from the east to the west. When we go close up here on the state, look at the strength of the storms. The yellows here are just tropical depressions. So they're, just kind of garden variety tropical systems moving by. The oranges are tropical storms. And look, there are no hurricanes that have hit these islands in Hawaii from Oahu over to the Big Island. And this is Iniki in 1992 that clobbered Kauai over here. So if either of these storms gets there as a hurricane, it will be unprecedented. Gets to the Big Island as a hurricane, it will be unprecedented in the record book going back to 1950. Again, Iniki stands out as a very unusual storm there. Now, off to the other side of the Pacific we go, and here's a typhoon. This is called Halong. Here's Guam, so it's kind of between China and Guam now, and it is forecast to move on off to the north. So Japan is indeed threatened by this storm as we go here through the next few days. Keep an eye on that. Okay, and back to you in studio.
I like Brian's hurricane updates.
You were riveted. Always at the edge of your seat, and really good stuff, too.
Yeah, stuff, so wonderful things to learn. Hey, this is an active week for weather, and we are on top of it.
We, of course, have all that storminess in the tropics, and we'll tell you about the storms that could cause problems here on the mainland.